Welcome to the Reparenting Daily podcast. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into reparenting, exploring tools and resources to help us through our journey. The podcast is divided into 3 sections. First is a reading. Second is a discussion of the reading, followed by a journal prompt. And the last section is a peaceful meditation for closing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining us and whenever you're joining us. Thanks for being here and taking some time out in your day to allocate to reparenting. If you're here, you know it's a very important book, a very important journey. Sorry, I was looking at the book now and thinking of the title. This is a new one, actually. Today's reading is called, it comes from the book Raising Myself, a memoir of neglect, shame, and growing up too soon. This book is written by Beverly Engel, and I'll provide a link where you can find the details in the show notes as usual. So, let's get started with the reading. So we'll look at part 1 today, and it's called Looking for a Mother. Starts off with a quote. "You don't know what it's like to grow up with a mother who never said a positive thing in her life, not about her children or the world, who was always suspicious, always tearing you down and spitting your dreams straight down the stream." Junot Diaz. This is a quote from The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. It's an interesting quote. Chapter 1. When I was 3.5 years old, I went looking for my mother. I had been waiting for her in the babysitter's backyard, along with about 5 other kids. I looked up each time the back door opened, as one by one, parents came to fetch their children, but she didn't come. As the time went by, I became more and more anxious. The sun was beginning to set, and the afternoon shadows were growing larger and more ominous. Soon I was the last child left playing in the yard. Still my mother did not come, and didn't come. Finally, I decided to ride my tricycle home. I opened the back gate to let myself out and headed home. I knew it was too far, and I also knew my way. I had to cross the highway and some railroad tracks to get there, but I was determined. When I reached the highway, I looked both ways like my mother had taught me and patiently waited for the cars to pass. Then I rode fast as my legs could pedal to the other side of the highway. Feeling triumphant, I continued on my path. A few blocks further on, I reached the railroad tracks. I had to push and tug my tricycle over each track, struggling so hard that I fell down several times on the gravel that lined the tracks. But nothing was going to stop me from getting home to my mother. When I finally made it home, I burst into the house, only to find it hauntingly empty. My mother wasn't there. Where was she? I'd never been all alone in our little cottage before. And I didn't like how it felt. It seemed strange and scary. I imagined boogeymen hiding in the dark corners, lurking behind the curtains. I went outside and sat in my sandbox, letting the still warm sand cradle me. Later, when my mother told others about this incident, she told them how she arrived home, scared out of her mind, to find me nonchalantly playing in my sandbox as if nothing was wrong. She was infuriated. Here, she had been worried sick, and I was oblivious to it all. She saw me as a selfish child who did not care about her. She later told me how she beat the daylights out of me for worrying her so much. I don't remember that part. It seems we just missed each other. She'd been inside the babysitter's house all along. talking, as she often did, with the women in her life. When she finally decided it was time to come get me, I wasn't there. My mother and I would repeat this type of scenario all our lives. Me looking for her even though she was physically there, her misunderstanding my behaviors and reactions and assuming the worst about me. Thank you. That's the reading for today. Welcome back. That was a really nice reading. I'm glad I just came across this book. I haven't read it before. I was browsing for something else and came across her website and then stumbled across the free version of the book. It's not the entire book in the show notes. It's just a portion, like the first introduction and the first chapter, I think. So definitely feel free to check that out. Again, it's free, and the title of the book is there, so you can find it. I'm just browsing through her website, and it also looks really interesting. And so I think that's, it's good. What did you think about the reading? When I read this, I thought back about many of the stories that I've heard from other people, their journeys. For me, it's more of the emotional looking, My mother was physically present there most of the time, but emotionally and spiritually very disconnected. And so I aligned with this very much so in that sense. It's a really heavy reading, and it's a lot to process, and I'm just going this at a fly, so apologize for today. It's a bit heavy. Normally I've read the text, so I'm familiar with what's going on, but I just jumped right into this one. How do you feel about the reading? How did you experience the story of a little girl being abandoned physically at the school, witnessing the other parents come to pick up their children? They remembered them, they loved them, even being left by all the other parents and no one really coming to help you. And then after that, still having the determination and courage to make it all the way home on a tricycle across train tracks. Jesus Christ. This is extreme negligence and neglect, and it's all too common, unfortunately. Do you have any stories like this of your parents or with other important caregivers and attachment figures? Moments like these are things that we need to work through and reprocess in the reparenting journey. There are various tools such as imaginary rescripting. There are other tools such as EMDR, interfamily systems that we can use to address these kinds of pains and memories, but they must be addressed. It's good to keep a journal. What I do is I keep a journal, 2 journals, one of the bad memories or thoughts that come back. Mostly memories is what I'm focused on, and then the second is full of positive memories. And so sometimes, these memories come back, I didn't remember it like this. I saw a picture of a friend from elementary school yesterday, and I was remembering going to her birthday party in 2nd grade, for example. So I put that one in the book as a positive memory, and it just randomly came back. But now I can hold on to them because I have it in a book. So I definitely recommend taking that chance or doing that practice if you have a chance. It will really give you some grounding and hopefully to develop a stronger, collection of hopefully positive memories, but in any case the negative ones as well, so you know how to address them and manage them. And then having the positive memories is good because you can quickly go back and get a boost, and the negative collection really allows you to go in and zero in on each pain point or painful situation or scenario. So this is a really good practice that I've been working out in my progress in my process of reparenting, and maybe it would be helpful for you. I would love to hear how that's working for you, or if you already do it, feel free to let me know. But for today, how about we reflect and journal on how have you been looking for your mother, in which ways? Do you have physical stories of her being physically absent such as in the book that we read today? Or instead, is it more like me, kind of this emotional searching, never really having that place to turn to, knowing that she's not there, that you cannot have real emotional conversations, that you cannot have a true connection and true intimacy? So reflect on that today, because our connection with our mother sets up a pattern for the remainder of our relationships, friendships, and partners. And if you don't examine it, you will repeat it. And if your relationship was not good with your mother, I don't think you want to repeat that in your future with friends and family and coworkers and so on. So reflect on your search for your mother today and be well. Thanks for being here. And now, let us move on to the final section, the meditation. This is an unguided meditation. I will simply provide some music and you can take some time to relax. Please feel free to choose a location and a place where you feel safe and where you can be undisturbed for the next 10 minutes. You can choose to be sitting down, standing, as you like, wherever you are most comfortable. Thank you for being here and enjoy the meditation.